year. You know, a lot of guys have been asking me, oh, what's going on with your MR-2? You don't drive it that much. We don't see anything about it. We don't hear anything. We don't see any pictures. So, you know, a lot of questions, a lot of comments, messages. So for those of you who don't know, last year I noticed I had low compression in 3 cylinders. And the car was still running great, never really had an issue, but you know, we noticed on deceleration I'd have a little bit of smoke on the exhaust coming out, so that made me do a compression test. And I found 3 cylinders to be lower than they should have. So, you know, I dropped oil into the cylinders and the compression shot up, so I figured, you know, my piston rings were no good. So we tore down the motor. You know, my buddy Justin and my buddy Roy helped me out. We tore it down, we replaced, originally we were going to replace the piston rings and do a complete rebuild on all the seals, gaskets, all that stuff. But when we pulled the pistons apart, the ring lands were actually destroyed on 3 cylinders, but they were still held up with the rings. So they didn't break off yet, but they were cracked. So when we pulled the pistons out, we pulled the rings off, you know, they just crumbled apart. That's when, you know, I got aftermarket forged pistons, so I got JE pistons, we put them back in there. You know, the stock rods on these cars are pretty strong, so they're good for way more power than I'm ever going to push. So, kind of, you know, honed the cylinders, did a complete gasket set, everything, put the motor back together, started her up, drives great. So after that, this was about, I don't know, 6, 7, 8 months ago. So after that, I kind of got lazy with it, and we let the car sit, and it was sitting for a while. I started up here and there, but the battery was kind of shot, so every time I started, I had to jump it or, you know, trickle charge it to maintain a full charge. And, it was just a headache, but the battery was shot, and there's a couple of interior things that were wrong. For those of you who know MR2s, the 93s and 94, 95 have electronic speedos instead of the cable ones like the 91s do. And the capacitors go bad, so the capacitors were bad on mine, so my RPMs and my speed pretty much weren't reading at all. They were really laggy. I had a couple of interior projects besides that to do, so it's been apart for a while. I've slowly been working on the interior when I had time. And finally finished all that together. You know, I did some minor trim, refinishing, and some minor things. I still have a couple of tiny, minor things to do. But that's been the car. I mean, it's been pretty much sitting. Not that anything's wrong with it. It drives fine now, but it's been here. And what I'm getting to is, you know, I've had this car for 10, 11 years, and I buy a lot of cars, I sell a lot of cars. They're not my personal cars, obviously, they're, you know, that's what I do. But as far as personal cars, I really don't have that many. You know, I have my Skyline, and I have my MR-2, and then I have my Daily, which is a Tundra. And I'm not a fan of having 3, 4, 5 different project cars at once. You know, because I already work on cars that I'm selling a lot, so it's not something I want to work on those cars and then have my own project and all that. You know, one project is fine, but I don't want to have a warehouse full of project cars. So I've been thinking about this a lot, and some of you know 3, 4 years ago I kind of put the car up for sale, kind of thinking about it, but then I changed my mind, decided to keep it. I repainted it, reflared the fenders, you know, just changed a couple of things up. And, you know, I've been thinking about that again, and ideally I want a new car for myself. Not like a brand new car, but a new project for myself. And I'm going to be putting this up for sale.
2 years on that count as well.
So it's not for sale yet. It will be for sale, I don't know, probably in the next month or so. I do have to figure out a couple of small things with this. You know, whoever does get the car, I want it to be a nice car. Not really have any issues, so I want to make sure everything's kind of good to go. But it is going to be for sale. And we'll see. I mean, I already began the hunt for my next car. It's going to take a while to find what I want. And, you know, if I find one before this sells, not a big deal, I'll buy it. And if this sells first, then, you know, I'll buy it when I find it. So, for the people that don't know, the Gen 3 3SGT car, minor bolt-ons, you know, downpipe, exhaust, intake, stuff like that, MR2 things. 18 pounds of boost, so right around 300 horsepower. The interior has Recaro seats, and you know everything on the body is pretty much custom. Excuse me. These fenders are custom. I made them. I cut them. I flared them. Same thing with the quarters. They're pulled out flare. The paint job is fully. You know, I painted it. It's not a quick job. It's a very meticulous job that took a long time. You know, suspension, wheels. Like I said, the car is a solid car all around. So if you guys know of anybody looking for an MR2 or that's gonna be looking for a really nice MR2, this one will be for sale. I am gonna be selling it for right around $15,000 as it sits. You know, if somebody doesn't want these equips, I'll gladly keep them and I'll knock that price down. But I think the price is going to be extremely fair considering of all the parts that the car has.